Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Imperial Dane, with another Propagandacast for you, and today it is the dawning of a new era. It is 2.602, no more 2.601, and 2.602 will be bringing a lot of changes with it. Map changes, unit changes, all sorts of fun new stuff that will certainly make for new and riveting tales from the battlefields of Company of Heroes set somewhere in Northern Europe, of course. So, much excitement there, and without further ado, let's actually get on to some of this. A 1 versus 1 on Langres. Yes, indeed, it's been some time since we've seen Langres. And of course, as some of you who are quite intimate with this map already noticed, there are some sweeping changes right here already. Where there used to be stone wall, there is now wooden fences, meaning that you can't really have the southern player fence and the northern player so easily in his base. Other bits include opening up a path here, so rather nice all in all. And I do believe this fuel point has moved a bit further away, so this machine gun emplacement can't just cover it so easily. Much fun stuff there, in fact. And let's have a look at the players in the northern corner, commanding elements of the 116th Panzer Division. Mengfianlao ready to counterattack during Operation Lüttich against the American 4th Infantry Division under the command of Major Koupa, ready to hold back the crowds and hold Mortain. So, let's get on with this, and of course let's try and get as many of these changes mentioned during the game as well, shan't we? Shall be more fun. We see the usual barracks start from here. Koupa mentioning he chose to play as Panzer lead, and yes indeed, sometimes he chooses one faction and then for some reason the auto matcher sets you as another one. It's a bit curious sometimes, so that's not much you can do. We see the Wehrmacht quarters going up, double pioneer teams working a way to set it up very swiftly. Of course, limiting the early seizure of territory, but there you go. Sometimes they go for it, sometimes don't. I usually prefer only one team, since you won't actually get infantry out much faster, since you still need the manpower for it. And only having one pioneer team working on it will usually time it quite perfectly. And we see the engineers rushing out to either side. Engineers, by the way, have received a buff, so they are much tougher against suppression, albeit with flamethrowers on. They are slightly easier to suppress, but overall they shouldn't fall so easily and be suppressed that swiftly, which is certainly something that has been a source of frustration from some American players. Rifleman team hitting the field. Riflemen themselves have received some smaller nerfs in the way of veterancy via grenades and BARs. They will now only receive veterancy bonuses from the supply yard, so keep that in mind. But that only makes the supply yard even more valuable, since it will also decrease upkeep. First Grenadiers having hit the field from the 116th. First Grenadiers themselves have received a small decrease in reinforcement costs, which will certainly help in the longer run. Plus, once you reach the skirmish phase, they will be able to seize territory that much faster. I do believe it's a 25% increase, so certainly not bad, and will certainly help them to run behind your main troops as you move upwards. Riflemen moving towards the center, while the Volksgrenadiers are out in the west, just narrowly missing each other. The Riflemen going for this munitions point, while the Volksgrenadiers are going for strategic points, and now moving towards the west. Might move into this building, which have a commanding view of this small courtyard, and certainly be able to fire on anyone trying to seize this point, and that indeed they will, firing away at these engineers, forcing them to retreat. A single volley slaying one engineer outright, and being left behind by his comrades. And now we do see a Schwimmwagen out. The Schwimmwagen has in fact also received a few bonuses. For one, it has been made cheaper and faster to produce, while at the same time the vehicle veterancy bonuses that made it able to avoid projectiles on the move have been removed. This also applies to bikes, half-tracks and the Puma being the main intended target for this nerf. Riflemen going for the central point, and we see some riflemen trying to fight here. Pioneers having seized the building, preventing the riflemen getting in there, which could certainly end up very nastily if they are caught outside by a heavy machine gun or some First Grenadiers. First Grenadiers conducting a bit of harassment, and we see the bike here firing away at these riflemen. But the Schwimmwagen is in... Oh, I said bike, didn't I? Oh, bother. Anyways, Schwimmwagen is in the unfortunate situation, since the riflemen do have a bit of cover there, and the Schwimmwagen does not really gain from the light vehicle cover, as vehicles can in fact gain some cover advantage, which makes them harder to hit. Volksgrenadiers joining in as well, but again they're not in cover. But there we go, moving away. Riflemen moving in from the east though, and we see riflemen moving in from the south. A complete envelopment of the Wehrmacht forces. Will they be able to get out of there before all is lost? Volksgrenadiers retreating, but this Schwimmwagen really needs to get out of there. Drive, Schwimmwagen, drive. Oh no, engine has been damaged, and it looks like this Schwimmwagen crew will be the one of many heroes to be later mentioned in some memorial. Most tragically, and there we go, blown apart, and the crew ejected most lazily to all sides. Volksgrenadiers engaging these riflemen as they are trying to seize this vital strategic point. MG42 using this nice opening in the bocage to fire wedge. Some engineers trying to deny the fuel for the Wehrmacht. Volksgrenadiers being reinforced by further troops. And we see the MG42 rushing in as well through the hedges, setting up in a nice position to overwatch, and firing away at the riflemen who are behind only a small wooden fence. And they are quite quickly suppressed. Volksgrenadiers dueling out with these riflemen who are also in a slightly unfortunate situation, but with their one team suppressed they won't be able to keep up as much pressure. And 3 riflemen down, laying down behind the hedge, some wounded, screaming for help in the tall grass, but there is no help, only the Wehrmacht. Volksgrenadiers charging ahead in the wake of the retreating riflemen, and we see pioneers getting out as well. We see a bit of quite effective harassment here on the eastern western part of the map, but counter harassment is being initiated by riflemen dashing ahead, certainly having much stronger bonus to capturing territory. It looks like these pioneers will have to retreat. Oh dear, looks like they may be lost for eternity. One already screaming in pain right in front of the house, with his comrade hiding in complete terror, hoping to be reinforced or helped, but most likely not happening, and he may in fact be cut down on his retreat. Will he make it out of there? No, he won't. And the Wehrmacht have been cut off from the fuel right now, but they've certainly gained something for it for some time. Volksgrenadiers continuing ahead. How many teams do we see? Only 2 still. Pioneers as well. Not attempting to salvage this wrecked Schwimmwagen. That would certainly be beneficial to the Wehrmacht forces. BARs have also been equipped for the riflemen, vastly increasing firepower and allowing them to cut down the Wehrmacht forces with even greater impunity. Or without, I suppose. Oh dear. I'm a bit unsure there, so I'll redact that. We see Volksgrenadiers laying down barbed wire, but on the other side, engineers with flamethrowers are waiting. Volksgrenadiers seizing a point. Not really a good spot to be taking territory, in particular when there's so many riflemen with BARs. These Volksgrenadiers will desperately need to get out of there, unless they will be slaughtered, and looks like they will join the hero role. And yes, there we go. An entire Volksgrenadier team lost. Absolutely horrific. Engineers cutting right through that barbed wire barricade, and we see assault going off. Numerous steel granaten being dropped. Oh dear, absolutely horrific. Heavy losses for the American riflemen. 50 munitions well spent, and this of course means that the 116th Panzer Division has gone into the blitzkrieg, meaning very offensive strategies. And of course assault is a bit rare to see, but it's certainly helpful, albeit it has been a bit changed, so now it actually kills more, but it does less damage. MG42 cleared out. Oh dear, heavy losses for the Wehrmacht. And these Volksgrenadiers may be lost as well. They will need to retreat very swiftly before the BARs continues to cut them down. Only 2 land, and now they are retreating right through the riflemen. And oh dear, it's absolutely horrific. Heavy losses for the Wehrmacht. Already 2 Volksgrenadier teams, an MG42 and a Schwimmwagen has been lost. Yes, the Americans have taken quite a beating as well, but it is nothing compared to the losses suffered by the initial forces of the 116th Panzer Division. Quite tragic. And now we see a sniper going out. Gewehr 43, scope in hand, knocking out an American rifleman. Shot right through the head. Not very happy for his comrades, who are now forced into a retreat. And we see riflemen moving towards the west. Wehrmacht has suffered quite heavily in the territorial fight as well. And now we see the MG42 setting up right here, but getting out of there. Apparently not keen on meeting the sniper. Pioneers rushing out once more, and the Volksgrenadiers as well, but they really will need to do something very swiftly, as now the Americans are setting up the supply yard and a jeep getting out, so we'll probably not see a motor pool right away, which will certainly be to the advantage of the Wehrmacht, who are certainly having suffered heavily. Apparently the snipers took this munition point. Quite bold. But will these pioneers actually begin to seize these points? salvage the Schwemmwagen for any possible munitions. Rifleman charging ahead. Volksgun has been equipped with MP40s. Sniper taking out one rifleman. Will these Volksgunners actually try to get closer with the MP40s and actually get them into effective range? I can't say, and we did have a bit of a curious drop in the frame rate there. Not entirely sure what's going on. Jeep charging ahead right into the MP40 equipped Volksgunners. Keen on taking out the sniper. Will he succeed? No. A lot of small arms fire tearing through the Jeep. Jeep catching fire and in a crazy curve blowing up, sending one crew member flying quite far ahead. Pioneers forced to retreat by these riflemen with MP40s, but still no heavy machine guns. Only MP40 equipped Volksgunners who are firing away with their submachine guns, some reloading though. Flamethrowers charging right into this bulk, but apparently the Volksgunners did not decide to focus down these engineers, which could certainly have been advantageous. MG42 marching ahead. Will they be able to succeed? Apparently not. Engineers going ahead. Will the MG40 firing away? There we go. Engineers are suppressed. Will they continue or will they be slaughtered? Looks like they get out of time. But these Volksgunners are certainly having trouble dislodging these riflemen with their BARs. Not being able to get close enough for with the MP40. Sniper getting onto the field again. Fresh renewed American assault from the front as well. MG42 blasting away at the Western team. Sniper firing but missing. And second shot actually hitting, but he really needs to get out of there. He's much too close to these riflemen. He might be killed. There we go, riflemen into a full retreat. Pioneer team being slaughtered. Rest of the Pioneers are getting into this really erected bunker. And these Volksgunners are blasting away at these riflemen who are suppressed. Another team has flanked the MG42 team, but Pioneers are hiding inside this bunker, blasting away with MP40s, killing a few riflemen, but they are now forced into a full retreat as MP40 equipped Volksgunners are charging ahead. And we see the infantry company has been chosen for the Americans. So we'll probably be expecting some heavy artillery, in particular since he has so absolutely heavy munitions stockpiled up. It's quite a lot, and we'll certainly be able to deliver quite a boom. And we see the T-17 being produced. The T-17 having received a buff of its own, a health buff, but at the same time that same health buff has been taken away from the Veterancy 1. So ultimately by Veterancy 1 it will still have the same amount of health, but it won't be so easily knocked out. So certainly not all bad. American captured MG42 moving ahead. Rifleman charging ahead. One going down to sniper fire. Sniper still in a slightly unfortunate situation, but looks like he's gotten some med packs. And we see these medics heroically carrying back the Volksgunners for the medical bunker. We might see a grenadier team on the way, but the Wehrmacht really will need to get some armor out, some anti-armor assets, a pack, Panzer Division, or anything, since this T-17 will always be able to wreak absolute havoc on the German lines. Pioneers moving out for the eastern half, securing some munitions and fuel, but will the T-17 ruin all of that? Will it be able to throw back the German defenses? I'm not sure. Americans moving up alongside the T-17. T-17 out in the field. Grenadiers have been reconstituted from all the wounded troops. More veteran from their experience of getting shot down. They'll certainly be able to provide a bit of firepower. Engaging the riflemen on the west. Riflemen with Veterans 1. These grenadiers will have to stop seizing the territory and will need to perhaps drop a grenade on these riflemen to level out the situation. The wooden fence won't be able to help in the long run. T-17